Can somebody from the Dorsey family please go to John Dorsey's house, knock on the door, see if he's there, and see if he's on one of those extremely long Madden marathon benders? Please. You'll do the city of Cleveland, the Browns organization, Brown fans, a great service if you do so. Because when I look at some of the deals that he's doing, and in particular, this one involving Danny Shelton, to me this is reminiscent of the type of crap you would do in Madden. It really is. You go into franchise mode, you take over your team or take over a crappy team, you trade away former first-round picks in order to get future picks, and it's just like the Madden game. That's exactly what the hell this reminds me of. And somebody needs to seriously check on John Dorsey and see whether or not he's on a freaking Madden marathon bender. Because he just traded away Danny Shelton, a former first-round pick of the Browns just a couple of years ago, who wasn't terrible, and a fifth-round pick this year to the New England Patriots, the two-time defending AFC champions, yeah, those New England Patriots, for a third-round pick in 2019. You're trading away a former first-round pick from just a couple of seasons ago and a fifth-round pick, to get a third-round pick in next year's draft. Who lost this trade? To me, the Cleveland Browns lose this trade. And this, in part, is not on John Dorsey. It is the bigger problem with Jimmy Haslam and the Skid Marks organization. Is every 2 to 3 years you're changing coaches, you're changing front offices, so that means you're changing philosophies in terms of front office mindset. You are also changing philosophies offensively, defensively, at the head coaching position. So you draft these players for one coach, and then in 2 to 3 years, they go and change everything. So these guys that you drafted for one idea, one purpose, they no longer work for that idea or purpose. And then you just basically wasted your first-round pick. And when you look at this in the grander picture, in the bigger scheme of things for the Cleveland Browns, I believe if you go back from 2009 to 2015 now with the Danny Shelton trade, not a single first-rounder for that 7-year stretch. And there were several years where they had multiple first-round picks. Think about that, 2012, 2014. All those first-round picks, not a single damn one of them is left on the Cleveland Browns roster. Now, sure, somebody like Alex Mack leaves via free agency, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of these guys busted out and sucked, and other guys that you traded away. Not a single first-round pick from 2009 to 2015 is left on this damn roster. And again, you took a former first-round pick from a couple of years ago and traded him along with a fifth-round pick this year to get a third-round pick next year. Does anybody else see the problem? You gave up a pick and a former first-round pick to sit there and get a third-round pick, and it's not even in this year's draft, it's in next year's class. Yes, that's great in terms of draft pick currency for next year, but why the hell did you have to give up Danny Shelton? You're going to hear the thing about how he didn't really fit Greg Williams' defense, and he was kind of replaceable. Perhaps he was, but he was still on a rookie deal, meaning you still could have had him for another 2 years. He wasn't that bad in 2017. He was starting, it felt like, to figure it out a little bit. Yes, I know you have other guys like Ogunjobi on the roster, and they may end up being better. But there still could have been a role and a place for Danny Shelton, even in Greg Williams' defense. And if Greg Williams couldn't figure out a way to make it work with Danny Shelton, maybe that's more on Greg Williams' ass than it is on Danny Shelton. I'm sorry. That's just ridiculous. Because now what you do is send a guy to New England who likely will be able to figure out what the hell to do with them. And the Patriots end up winning this trade. You get a former first-round pick, still on his rookie deal, that you can plug in there without the demands or expectations with him coming from being your first-round pick. If anything, he looks like a failed first-round pick somewhere else, especially for God's sakes if it's Cleveland that's trading him away. So you can sit there and plug him in, make him a run stopper, make him a first and second down, short yardage, goal line type of player. He will eat up some space in the middle. He will fit for what the New England Patriots are going to ask for him. And they don't have to have the pressure of demanding much more out of him. And if he gives you much more, hey, super duper. And if he doesn't, if he just does what he did in Cleveland in 2017, maybe a tad bit more, he's still a valuable piece for the New England Patriots defense. And when you look at this, to have that right, they also got a 5th-round pick this year, which surely the New England Patriots are going to shop anyways and either move up into the 2018 draft or probably flip it into a 4th-round pick in 2019 because that's what the hell Belichick does. All the while, they gave up a 3rd-round pick next year when they're not worried about next year because it is all about right here, right now, especially with Belichick and Brady still in the fold. And more likely than not, when you look at Belichick's recent history in terms of drafting, it's not like his 3rd-round pick's going to be a big swinging success any damn ways. At least you know Danny Shelton can actually play in the league. He might never be a star or a superstar, but he can play. He's at worst a role player. And I understand from the Browns standpoint, well, you didn't draft him in the 1st round, granted previous regime and all, but you didn't draft him to sit there and be a role player. But that's ultimately what he was. But he was still an NFL-level player that your organization just sunk a 1st-round pick into a couple years before. The Browns didn't need more draft picks. They needed to better utilize the picks that they have with a combination of drafting the right players and taking some of those day 3 picks in particular and getting guys that can contribute right away to help plug in some of the holes, fill in some of the gaps. And the Browns, in this case, took a guy that could actually play a little bit in the NFL, even if he's not the best systematic fit for their defense, and gave up a 5th-round pick to get a 3rd-round pick next year. The hell is John Dorsey doing? Just because this worked when you proposed it in Madden doesn't mean this is a trade that you should do in real life.